Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In today's lecture, we will discuss the characteristics against which the Romantics revolted. Before this lecture, we have already discussed what is meant by preface, what is meant by lyrical ballads in the first introductory lecture. However, in today's lecture, we will talk about those characteristics of the neoclassical age. The neoclassical age was the age before Wordsworth and Coleridge, before the Romantics. Neo means new, classical means classic, referring to old Roman and Greek writers. We will discuss what is meant by this neoclassic and neoclassical poetry. But for the time being, some characteristics of this age, which characterize this age, and against which uh, poets like Wordsworth and Coleridge revolted. So these characteristics will be discussed, and they are 5 in number, and we will do them one by one. However, you should know this fact that the people of 18th century, the poets, Pope, Dryden and others, they thought that they were the true descendants of the Greek and Roman writers. And this was their misconception, and we will try to prove that they were not the true descendants of the Greek and Roman writers, and that's why they got the name of pseudo classics for them. Uh, they were not the real classics. They thought that they were the descendants of the classical Greeks and Romans, for example, Homer, Virgil, and Horace, and that they revived the poetry of these people, Homer, Virgil, and Horace. So they thought they had a very great idea of themselves by considering themselves to be the descendants of the Greek and Roman writers. The first characteristic of the neoclassical age or the neoclassical poetry was that they were interested in the form and not in the matter. This is just the opposite of the classical writers. For the classical writers, matter was the most important item. Matter means about which poetry is written. So they were interested not in the form and structure, they were actually interested in the matter. Of course, uh, they used grand language, they used beautiful poetry. The form was also the best, but the main thing in which the classics, the real classics, were interested was the matter, not the form. They thought, the neoclassical poets, the 18th century poets, Pope, Dryden, and their followers, that they should imitate the classic writers and especially their form. By form is meant the use of words, diction, the use of similes, metaphors, other figures of speech, versification. Um, that is, grand language should be used. Matter was not important for them, and grand matter was not selected by them for writing poetry. Therefore, these writers did not write about great passions, great actions and emotions, or sublime thoughts. This was something contrasted with the uh, classics, because the classics took grand actions, passions, emotions, sublime thoughts. On the contrary, the neoclassical poets left all these things and they only talked about the upper class society, which had grown quite artificial. This class had become quite idle. They were very frivolous in their habits, and they gave a lot of importance to form, uh, for example, to dancing, to tea taking, to dresses and manners. And they, in their poetry, depicted all these things. Jane Austen, in her novels, also talks about the same age, the neoclassical age, but she does not agree to what is in the age, to what was in that age, and that portrayal of Jane Austen is ironical. However, these neoclassical writers, they discussed the manners of the people, the values of the society, and they were not ironical. They fully agreed with the values of that society and with their conventions, and they were not ironical in what they portrayed. So, this is the first first characteristics which make these neoclassical poets as pseudo-classical poets, because they thought they were following Homer, Virgil, and Horace, but they selected only the form, not the matter, while the classical poets were interested in the matter more than in the form, though they were also interested in the form. ये पहली कैरेक्टरिस्टिक है जिसके खिलाफ वर्ड्सवर्थ और कॉलरिज ने लिरिकल बैलेड्स लिखी, ये नज़में लिखी, और ये इनके खिलाफ इसलिए थी, इनका ख्याल ये था कि ये असल वारिस हैं, डिसेंडेंट्स हैं क्लासिकल ग्रीक और रोमन्स के, जैसे होमर है, वर्जिल, होरेस है, लेकिन इन्होंने सिर्फ एक चीज़ को फॉलो किया और वो इनका फॉर्म था। फॉर्म से मुराद ज़ाहिरी स्ट्रक्चर है, अल्फाज का इस्तेमाल है, सिमिलीज, मेटाफर्स का इस्तेमाल है, फिगर्स ऑफ स्पीच का इस्तेमाल है और वर्ड्स का इस्तेमाल है, ये इन्होंने लिया। लेकिन इन्होंने मैटर पे ज़्यादा ध्यान नहीं दिया। असली चीज़ तो मैटर है जो ज़बरदस्त एक्शंस पे मबनी हो, फैशंस, इमोशंस और सबलाइम थॉट्स पे मबनी हो। इन्होंने तो मैटर को जो कि ग्रैंड मैटर है उसको छोड़ के अपर क्लास सोसाइटी के बारे में लिखना शुरू किया। जैसे अगर आप पोप की द पफलाक को पढ़ें तो आप अपर क्लास सोसाइटी की आर्टिफिशियलिटी को उसमें पढ़ते हैं कि ये बड़े फारिग लोग थे और रोज़गार लोग थे, इनका कोई काम नहीं था, मामूली चीज़ों के बारे में इन्होंने लिखा। मसलन ये कैसे डांस करते हैं, चाय पीते हैं, ड्रेसेस कैसे पहनते हैं, इनके मैनर्स क्या हैं। सो इन चीज़ों को इन्होंने इम्पोर्टेंस दी। जेन ऑस्टन नॉवेलिस्ट थी और इसने भी इसी एज के बारे में लिखा, लेकिन इसने इसके खिलाफ लिखा, आयरॉनिक लिखा, और पोप और ड्राइडन ने इनके साथ एग्री करके, इनकी वैल्यूज़, सोसाइटी की वैल्यूज़ के साथ एग्री करके इसके बारे में लिखा है। तो ये इसके साथ एग्री करते थे और ये बड़ी मामूली बातें थी। ये सब्जेक्ट मैटर इसका बहुत मामूली था। द रेप ऑफ द लॉक में सब्जेक्ट मैटर कटिंग ऑफ द लॉक है, और बाकी जो है वो तो सिर्फ फॉर्म एंड स्ट्रक्चर है, बड़े अल्फाज का इस्तेमाल है, सिबिलिस का इस्तेमाल है, मेटाफर्स का इस्तेमाल है, लेकिन जो मैटर है वो बहुत मामूली किस्म का है। तो ये पहली कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स थी जिसके खिलाफ कॉलरिज ने लिखा और जिसके खिलाफ वर्ड्सवर्थ ने मेनली लिखा। इन्होंने फॉर्म को इतनी अहमियत नहीं दी और मैटर को ज़्यादा अहमियत दी। हम इसको फिर दोबारा भी डिस्कस करेंगे कि मैटर को कैसे इन्होंने ज़्यादा अहमियत दी। तो ये एक कैरेक्टरिस्टिक हो गई कि ये न्यू क्लासिकल एज and the people of that age, they were interested in form and they were not interested in matter. ये भी एक मुख्तसर सा लेक्चर हुआ जिसमें हमने सिर्फ एक कैरेक्टरिस्टिक को डिस्कस किया जिसके खिलाफ वर्ड्सवर्थ ने पोइट्री की। हम नेक्स्ट कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स को नेक्स्ट लेक्चर में डिस्कस करेंगे। Thank you and good luck.